Hello guys and gals, welcome to Enjoy Life Music, where we talk about all things music related in Japan and Korea. I'm your host Spud, and today we will be talking about why are there so many bad singers in Japan. Now obviously this is more of a subjective topic, but I will do my best to back up my claims and opinions with some objective facts. So, with that being said, let's dive on in. First, let me get this out the way. I love Japanese music, obviously. If I didn't, I wouldn't have this channel. So it does kind of hurt me to bash Japan when it comes to their music, but it's gotta be done. So it doesn't matter where you live, but every country has that one singer that's super famous and has no musical talent. It's just a generic, soulless pop songs, and they repeat the same word over and over and over and over. But that's okay, since these singers are what we like to call one-hit wonders. Now the singers we're talking about today aren't necessarily uber famous, but somehow managed to break into the music industry despite sounding like absolute horse. Now to start off my analysis with this strange but amazing phenomenon, let's take a look at our first example, the girl group Bish. And if I am mispronouncing that name, honestly I do not care because they are just so terrible. Now, as I've said before, Bish is a girl group, so the bar is already set very low. And yet somehow they have taken things to a new low. So I took the liberty to listen to one of their more popular songs called My Landscape, which came out about 2 years ago, and I wanted to compare it to one of their newer songs today called Superhero Music, which released about a month ago. And I wanted to see how they improved over those 2 years. There's really no improvement, but don't take my word for it. How about you listen to it? So here is My Landscape. And here is Superhero Music. You can actually tell there was a lot of auto-tune used to fix the voices, put things into key, make everything sound a bit prettier. The issue with that is, it sounds kind of robotic. If you listen very closely, there's a kind of synthetic sound to it. The only thing they didn't really change was the tone of their voices, which, I mean, there's only so much you can do. They sound very flat. Now, the next thing that we need to look at is the live performance, which makes me very scared considering that the track version of the song is already terrible. I mean, how much worse can the live version be? Well, it's really not good. This is not singing. No, this is something different. I just don't know what it is. Now, when listening to the live version of the song, I assumed maybe there was some kind of audio issues they had when setting everything up, but it's kind of hard to see that being the case, considering this is a concert. If anything, they want to make sure all the audio technicalities and that kind of stuff is taken care of. So I think it's safe to assume the issue here is just the members. Now, I will give credit where due. There are some parts of the song that sound competent. Keyword, competent. But I'm not going to spend the whole video poorly talking about this group. I mean, if I'm being honest, they already fucked themselves. So the question is, how do these groups even become popular? And to understand that, we need to take a step back and look at Japan's culture. I mean, this is probably really obvious to most people, but Japan really values looks. Everything must be pretty. That's top priority. You can see it in TV commercials. There's a bunch of makeup commercials. There's a bunch of facial grooming commercials. Looks and prettiness and ikemen and that kind of stuff is just top priority in Japan. Now, of course, this isn't exclusive to Japan. There are many countries out there where this is the norm. Now, as for Western countries, this way of thinking is slowly changing. For example, if we look at Meghan Trainor, Adele, or even Lady Gaga, we can already say that these women aren't the most beautiful women out there, but they have a lot of musical talent. And for Western men, this is even less relevant, especially in the rap genre. I mean, they do their own thing with the tattoos and the grill and the 24-inch chains hanging low. I don't know what I'm talking about. My point being, your chances of breaking into the music industry in Japan will greatly be higher if you're pretty. And if you're not pretty, be prepared to wear a lot of makeup or get some plastic surgery work done. It's unfortunate that Japan cares more about the looks of a singer rather than the musical talent, but that's just the way it is here. For example, the singer Yuzu is fairly popular in Japan, but she's not considered the most beautiful woman in the world by all means. However, her singing is very good. She has a kind of husky, jazzy tone to her voice, which is very unique in Japan, so I just eat that shit up. I need to stop swearing. Anyway, I remember sitting down one day with my wife and we were watching one of her performances on TV. And I was just saying, wow, she's such a great singer. And my wife responded with, yeah, she's good. It's just unfortunate that she's so ugly. And I was really shocked to hear this. My response being, does it matter what she looks like? At the end of the day, it's her singing that we're coming for, right? We had a lengthy conversation about this, and at the end of the day, she explained to me Japanese value looks when it comes to singers or celebrities, just famous people in general, because that's what we expect from famous people, to look pretty. This is something I understand to a degree, but for singing, I honestly don't care what the singer looks like. Now don't get me wrong, if the singer is good looking, okay, yeah, that's a bonus. But at the end of the day, I listen to their songs for the music, not for their faces. And it's just unfortunate that a lot of talented singers will never get a chance just because of the way they look compared to these I wouldn't say talentless, compared to these other not as talented singers who are smoking hot. So when you look at bad singers, there's two categories of singers you need to look at. You have your idol groups, and then you have your solo artists and bands. We'll just lump those two together to make things easier. Now the reason why there are so many bad idol group singers out there is actually pretty obvious. The groups are targeted toward tweens and teens, and in Japan's case, oji-san. So the music doesn't really matter. It's all about the looks and the kawaii aspect of it. And the talent agencies are well aware of this. That's why they focus on the girls and the cuteness in the performances more than the actual songs. If you listen to a lot of these idol group songs, a lot of them are very loud and fast-paced with a lot of synth sounds. A lot of them basically follow the same beat. But hey, that's how it is. It sells. It makes that money. and I can personally attest to this claim. When I was in high school, I was a huge fan of Cute and Morning Musume and AKB48 and some other girl groups out there. And as a crazy, hormonally wild teenager, I thought they sounded amazing. Of course, you know, back then I was just thinking with the bing bong. But eventually, as I grew up and got my hormones under control, I went back, listened to their songs, and realized,
kinda sounds like shit.
of course, there are good idol groups out there. For example, Flower is one, and maybe Arashi. Well, okay, maybe not Arashi. I'm being biased, so of course I'm gonna say Arashi. But if I weren't an Arashi fan, maybe they wouldn't be considered that good. Oh, my heart. Now, solo artists are a little bit different. Compared to idol groups, solo artists are a bit higher on the musical totem pole. Of course, that doesn't mean there aren't bad singers out there, because believe me, oh, there are so many bad singers. For example, there's Hamasaki Ayumi, there's Kodakumi, there's Daigo, there's Kyari Pamu Pamu, just to name a few. Now, don't get me wrong, I really like Kodakumi, and I also like Daigo, but I have to admit, they are not the greatest singers out there. I mean, Daigo is, yeah. Japan really enjoyed looks. Now, there is another step to this. If you were pretty and also had talent, then you could become a singer. That is the key difference between back then and now. In today's society, if you look pretty, you can become a singer even if you suck. And this has created a oversaturation of singers in the market. So now you have all these good singers trying to fight for the top, and then you have all these bad singers also trying to fight for the top. And the question is, how do you get to the top? Well, it's actually very easy. You use a gimmick. For example, let's look at Kodakumi. Her gimmick was sexiness. Unfortunately, there is a negative effect to these gimmicks. Now, all the good singers also have to find gimmicks to help them reach the top, which could sometimes be a detriment to their singing. A good example of this would be Joubachi, or I think they're called Queen's Bee around the world. I'll have to double check that one. Now, the lead singer, whose name eludes me, is actually a very good singer. She can hit the high, she can hit the low, she can hit the mid, she can go left, right, inside, out. It doesn't matter. She can hit every note without much of an issue. Now, technically speaking, Joubachi has two gimmicks. The first gimmick I mentioned was screaming and hitting the high notes a lot. The second gimmick, which is going to be controversial because technically, for me, I don't consider this a gimmick, but once again, I'm looking at things from a Japanese perspective, Japan's perspective, and that would be her being transgender. Now, obviously, in America, these kind of things isn't much of an issue. You know, there's a bunch of transgenders and bis and gays and pans and all that kind of stuff. But in Japan, you know, this woman is half Japanese, half black. So that's already an attention grabber. So throw in transgender, especially in a country where gayness is hardly accepted, then you've got yourself a lot of attention. So the last question is, how do we fix this issue of bad singers in Japan? And the question is actually very, 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 very easy. That's a lot of berries. We do nothing. Absolutely nothing. As Ari said in the audio interview, music just kind of repeats itself. These bad singers will plateau, and then more good singers will rise to the top, and then we'll have a wave of good singers. I mean, this has happened before. I mean, in America, in the 80s and 90s, we had some really good music. In the 2000s, we had really bad music with all the auto-tune. 2010s, things kind of went back to normal to some degree. And then 2020, you know, we have, yeah, well, I'm pretty sure you know what we have. But yeah, all we can do now is just wait for things to get better, because they will eventually get better, and we'll be able to enjoy more good singers in Japan rather than searching through this pile of turd looking for that golden turd. That sounds kind of cool. Oh no, bad timing. Alright guys and gals, that is my video on bad singers in Japan. So my question for you is, who do you think are some of the worst singers in Japan? And who do you think are some of the best singers in Japan? Let's try to keep things civil in the comment section below. I'm very curious to hear your answers. And if you liked the video, be sure to smash that like button. And if you really liked it, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified for any future videos that I upload, because I do try to upload every week. And be sure to follow me on Twitter, because occasionally I do post things on there. So, there you have it. Enjoy life. Enjoy music. Peace.